This is the regular meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Southfield. Today's date is February 19th, 2025. The time is 6:30, and we are in the chambers of Southfield City Council. With that, I'd like to offer Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Payson, roll call.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowling, thank you.
Ms. Bernuti,
Present.
Ms. Goodwin Dyes here. Mr. Griffiths is excused. Commissioner Gruber,
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Dr. Stevens-Gunn is also excused. Commissioner Willis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you.
Chair,
Mr. Martin.
I'd like to ask if we can pause for a couple of minutes to give Commissioner Goodwin Dye time to get her coat off.
We can take 30 seconds.
You okay?
I apologize.
Don't apologize. It happens.
I'm running from work.
And with that, Mr. Martin, I'm going to ask for your approval, ask for your motion for approval of the agenda.
To the chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda for February 19th, the Planning Commission, City of Southfield.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Bowler, Mr. Pison, here for the announcements and communications.
Oh, none at this time, sir.
Thank you. Then we can go into the first item on the agenda, 28600 Lasser Road, request for construction of a soccer field. We have representatives from Southfield Christian here.
Yes, we do.
Yes. You would approach, please.
All right. Do my summary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As noted, this is a site plan review, so the Planning Commission does have final authority on this as of the
Mr.
ordinance
President,
amendment.
I'm going to, can I ask you to, thank you.
I'll pull it. So this is a site plan review, so I was just noting that Planning Commission has final authority on these now. Still getting used to that a little. This is on 28600 Lasser Road. It is Southfield Christian School. This was in front of the bodies last year to get the rezoning done. That was taken care of with the understanding that the soccer fields would be coming forward, and now they are for their site plan approval. As noted, the whole site is zoned R2 residential now. It was split zoned before. It is that area on the north end of the site, the corner at Lasser and 12 Mile is the area where the soccer fields are going to go. The baseball fields are remaining behind the building as they are now. Here's your existing conditions. You can see like a movable soccer goal out there. Trees. This is just showing the overall site as it is now. And then this is the area where the soccer fields are going to be put in, along with fencing along 12 Mile and Lasser, set back 50 feet from the right-of-way. 6 foot tall. It extends kind of past the ends of the fields to get keep things contained. There's also a walkway, ADA pathway out to a concrete slab between the fields for ADA access for people to go and view the games. We do have the petitioner present, so I'll hand that off now.
Thank you. If you could give us your name and address.
Sure. I'm Gina Van Tyne. I'm from Inform Studio, 235 East Main Street, Northville, Michigan.
I'm Will Guerre. I'm the head of school, 28650 Lasser Road, Southfield, Michigan.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to that comments?
No, I can't think of anything, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. We would then ask for opportunity for community.
Well, this is a site plan, so it doesn't actually have a public hearing.
Okay. Commissioner.
I believe last year when we did the rezoning, you mentioned putting up a fence, a 20-foot fence to keep balls that is no longer necessary because of the soccer field, so I assume that you've eliminated that?
We're doing the 6-foot fence
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
recommended by the planning department.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like to note that the planning commission took note of you waiting around for hours last week. And through a
We-
suggestion of
we
my own,
appreciate that.
We got you first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
I don't have any questions.
The last shall be first.
Thank you, that's right, yeah.
Yes, I have no questions. It's an excellent location.
Thank you.
and I'm going to join fellow commissioners. I have no questions. I am glad you're able to proceed with the project. I am a neighbor of yours, and so we look forward to seeing it built. I live just on the other side of Lasser.
Nice.
From you, so I'm looking forward to see things go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We do need a motion.
The chair, like to make a motion for approval of PSP 24-0024.
Support.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have, I got the motion and the floor. Do I have a, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, thank you. That completes it.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me,
Yes.
do they need to do the resolution for,
From planner.
yeah, is it necessary to do the resolution for approval for the record?
I assumed your motion was to accept the resolution as presented.
It was, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Then the next item?
Yep, next item is the Verizon store at 28117 Telegraph Road. This is also just a site plan review, so the Planning Commission has the final say on this. It is only actually the Planning Commission instead of an administrative review because they need a waiver for that durable masonry material at the base on the front of the store. And if it requires a zoning waiver, we can't approve it administratively. So we are talking about, I was talking to Sarah in our office about possibly amending that because glass is actually, as Mr. Griffiths pointed out last time, a durable material. It's not like EFS. But anyway, the current zoning on the site is B3 general business, which is consistent with the regional mixed use. It has been like a cellular phone store for a long time with Cellular One at one time. There aren't a lot of changes to the layout. That's mostly a change to the building. This is how the building looks now, with that kind of rotunda feature on the front. They're going to be completely redoing that and some of the interior space. This is basically just showing the floor plan. They're going to restripe the parking lot, make sure we've got the ADA parking where we need it, adding the bike rack, getting the access to the public sidewalk that we typically require. Got to refresh the landscaping. This is the landscape plan. It's not in bad shape, but it just needs a refresh. Typically after the construction process also, the last stuff around the foundation when you do facade work typically gets a little trampled. So this is what the new elevation is going to look like. This is the north side and the south side of the building, sides, and then this is the front and the rear. So the front, as you can see, the glass mullion system goes all the way down to the ground. The rest of the building, it's got masonry or durable materials on the walls. There is some glass that goes all the way also on the north elevation. This is a rendering of the store. And then as per the request from the last meeting, we did get a floor plan showing how the building's gonna be laid out. So if you look at this on your right, that's the retail space. And then you get into some service, back area support space, and admin non-retail space as you move toward the back of the building. And then they did provide some interior renderings just showing how the layout of the store, not 100, this is how they're designing the new models for these stores. So you do see some benches, some tables and chairs for seating in the space, in addition to the display areas. I believe Ms. Fentine is representing this appeal today.
And if
Yep,
you would
it's me again. Gina Van Tine from Inform Studio, 235 East Main Street, Northville, Michigan. Jeremy's actually at a Verizon summit about the new design, so he couldn't be here tonight. He said, I can try to get an earlier flight. I'm like, no, it's fine, I'll take it. So I don't really have anything to add, except that, as I think Jeremy pointed out last time, This is one of 3 buildings that Verizon still owns. So they're able to actually try to make this look like a flagship store and not have to get landlord approval and that type of thing. So that's one of the reasons and the other reason is because it's set so far off Telegraph Road. So they're trying to make a statement and really show everybody that, you know, they're putting some money into this community and they're going to stay for a long time.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. We need nothing from the public but commissioners.
I assume that in redoing the building that you'll also be fixing up the parking lot?
Actually, we're going to be fixing some of the sidewalk and the front sort of like plaza kind of looking area right now because we're making the building a little bit shorter because the rotunda's coming off. So we're going to be fixing the sidewalks and we're going to be at least patching and repairing and seal coating and restriping the parking lot.
Okay.
And any curbs too that are cracked and messed up.
I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner?
No questions.
Thank you.
I really like the rotunda. Just saying.
Yeah, understood.
Park
It
for
just doesn't
everybody,
really lend itself to retail.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
But-
so interesting because it was such a separate concept way back then when Cell One built it, or I forget who built it, maybe GTE, that they would take you into a room and sit down and consult with you. And that doesn't happen anymore.
No, not anymore.
No, now they're a tech store, so it's a very different situation.
Yeah, but other than that, I have no questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernuti?
Yes, the only question that I had was, it was difficult for me to be able to see where Verizon was, and I think he mentioned that you were going to do something that would kind of highlight or something. Can you expound on that for me?
Correct. Actually, the building will be a soft white, which will help. The big expansive storefront will help as well because you'll be able to see in the store, and so there will be light emanating out in the dark. But with the new signage, and I think Tom mentioned that we're going to be taking down some of the trees because they're so close to the building that they're affecting the foundation.
Right.
So that will all help.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
No other questions.
Oh, and the pylon sign will be redone with the new branding.
Oh, good, that'll be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go back to Commissioner Martin again.
Right now, it looks that with the floor plan, it's just a walk-in. How do you determine, you know, the order of customers?
They actually, it's funny because we were just talking about this today. They have a dedicated person with an iPad that as soon as you walk in, you talk to them and they put you in the queue.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's,
Sure.
you know, there's so many the phone stores.
Oh,
you
yeah.
walk in and then you wait or.
Right, because it's
roam
not,
around
it's
and
not
see.
like you walk around the store and try to decide what you want. You're there usually for a very specific reason, and so they try to take everybody's name as they come in.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think my comment will be reflective of Commissioner Bernuti. I think that turret-looking rotunda thing is absolutely unique. I'm not sure if I would use the word like, but it is absolutely unique.
Don't want to commit that much, huh?
Thank you. Any further questions, Commissioners?
No.
Mr. Payson?
Yep. We do have a recommendation. We are making a favorable recommendation on this to be approved. Really, it'll have to be conditioned on it going to the zoning board and getting the waiver they need for that glass frontage, where it's 18 inches of durable material is required. That could almost be, rather than a waiver, it could almost be an interpretation by the zoning board where they could interpret the glass to be durable. I'll leave that to the administrator of that board to address how that gets, listed. But it is one of those things, as I mentioned, we are talking about maybe clarifying that in the ordinance a little bit as what we mean by durable and not durable materials, so we don't have these unnecessary waivers out there. So we are looking at conditioning it on the plans that are before you, that they be developed consistent with those, that the petitioner work, consider any recommendations of the Southfield Police Department Crime Prevention Bureau, and obviously our typical continuous compliance with all applicable codes, ordinance, laws, statutes, work done under permits and inspections by the city.
Okay, I thank you.
To the chair,
Yes,
I'd like to recommend favorable approval of PSP 24-0023.
thank you. All in favor?
I second that.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you, appreciate it.
You have a
We're
great day.
on the March agenda, I believe, for the zoning board, so,
Okay,
thanks, folks.
thank
Bye.
you. Okay. Our next item, special use and site plan review, is at 27050 Lasser Road.
Yep. So this is a special land use and site plan approval for a gas station tear down or rebuild. They're looking to do a gas station with a service station, repair, and carry out restaurant and alcohol sales. So there's actually like 4 special land uses all kind of rolled into one there. The special land use will require a public hearing when we get to that point. As noted, the current zoning here, looking at the site, it's B3 general business, which is the required zoning for the uses. And then we've got it consistent with the future land use, local mixed use. Just showing the site aerial here, you get the gas station, got kind of a shopping center behind, and then a vacant bank to the north, also owned by the applicant. The gas station across the street to the to the west, rather, across Lasser. Some current conditions on the site. As you can see, it's one of these gas stations that was built at an angle to the corner. It was very popular one time to do that, but it always leaves this dead space kind of behind the gas station, which can be problematic, as gas stations have sort of evolved to be like the carry-out restaurants and the convenience stores. In this case, it's still having the service use, which is unusual. Let's see if we get this. This is the proposed site and landscape plans. They are adding green belt along both frontages, kind of straightening out the sidewalk, providing pedestrian access across from the sidewalk to the entrance of the building, loading zone, bike racks, the usual improvements that we look for. They're going to have the ground sign at the corner there is typical, and you have your canopies kind of north-south there along Lasser. Landscaping, get some trees and shrubs, perennials along the frontage. And we did note last time, and I wanted to note this again, it does require 6 zoning waivers. I looked back over the 10 gas stations we've looked at since August of '23, since the ordinance changed allowing alcohol sales. And only of those 10, one of them required 3 waivers. They were all setback waivers. And then 2 required 2 waivers. The rest of them required no waivers. So it's really 6 waivers is kind of unprecedented. In the case of a couple cases where we're looking at tear downs and rebuilds, they were adding land. They took another parcel next door and expanded the property to accommodate the additional uses in the larger facility. So they didn't need the waivers because they had additional land. In this case, you're looking at a parking waiver that's fairly substantial, though I provided you the letter from the applicant's attorney offering to do a parking easement with the property to the north. The bank does have, I think, over 40 spaces, so it's got a fair amount of parking. If you look at the aerial photo, you've got a double row of parking in front, a single row behind, and another row of parking on the north side of the property. So there's actually a fair amount of parking there. It's about, I think it may be a little more than 40 spaces. I counted earlier today. It's not well striped in this photo, but it's, for a bank that size, it had a generous amount of parking. The other ones, you have a building setback waiver, 40-foot is a specific setback for gas stations. They're 35-foot 4, so it's not a big waiver on that case from 11 Mile. You have another driveway width requirement, the north driveway on Lasser. It's supposed to be max 35 foot. They're at 43.5 feet on that driveway. That one could probably be solved unless there's an issue with the tankers getting in and out. And then the minimum landscape along the street frontage, you got a 12.5-foot requirement on Lasser and 11 Mile. It's 6.5 on Lasser, and it's 9.67 on 11 Mile at the narrowest point, because it's supposed to be a consistent 12.5 feet. Rear setback waiver, once again, because this is a corner lot, it's a 15-foot requirement. They're going to be at about 8 feet to that little bump out by the service area. And then the minimum side yard green belt along street frontage, this is another requirement that's actually higher than, there's two landscape requirements that overlap. There's the standard B3 requirement, and then there's one that goes to gas stations. So this is the one that applies to gas stations, it's the 15-foot on 11 mile for a side setback green belt. So we ran across this when we did that gas station at Northwestern at 12 mile, had a lot of these same setback, but that was a triangle. So it was a really weird site. It's now the El Car Wash, that gas station's actually not getting built. But, so, you got basically 3 green belt waivers, 3 setback waivers, and a parking waiver here. And, some of that's being driven by the size of the facility and the size of the parcel. Some of it's being driven by the fact that it's a corner lot. And corner lots are always a little tricky. So we have those two things going on. This is the floor plan. As you can see, the kind of bottom to the left here is the actual main floor, and then the upper right is the mezzanine. They have a storage office mezzanine. I think I didn't have that on the slide last time. I wanted to make sure I included it this time. Because you can see the staircase in the top left on the first floor plan that goes up to the mezzanine level. We've seen this on a couple of the new gas stations where they have a mezzanine for storage and some office space so that their main retail floor area is more available to do business. And typically, this isn't really a problem because they still meet the height requirements. They don't need a waiver for height. In the B3, you can be taller. It's not an issue. And it gives the building a little more presence. So I know Planner Crode actually prefers they go a little taller because the buildings end up, having a little more visual presence. Speaking of which, here's the elevations. Kind of a nice modern look. The ends here. This was the front, the rear. So that's the west side, the east side. Then you've got the north elevation, which is kind of where the bank is, and then the bays that face down toward 11 Mile. This is the actual rendering provided. It's a very attractive, modern look, kind of fits in with Southfield's modern architecture. International style nicely. And the petitioner is present if they'd come forward.
Thank you, and for the record, your name and your address.
Haitham Hanawa, 28124 Orchard Lake Road, Suite 102, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Art Gabby, 27050 Lasher Road, Southfield.
Thank you. You've heard the presentation. Do you have anything to add to that? And anything else you'd like to share with us at this point?
No, the biggest thing is the parking. We own the property to the north of the bank. It's vacant now. We did like a quick count of the parking spaces today. There's like 52 parking spaces, which includes the handicap. So I just kind of ran a couple numbers, based on the parking requirements for different types of uses. And the building is 4,920 square feet. So, I mean, even if we went with the most restrictive, let's say, full restaurant, Coney Island there, we would meet the 52 parking spaces, but I don't think we're going to have anything like that. So we can definitely take some part, we were thinking about taking the spaces that are behind the drive-through for the bank, because those spaces are never being used.
The aerial.
Yeah, there's 10 parking spaces right there.
Right back here behind the building.
Yep, that is correct, yep. And like I said, the building is not gonna, the type of building is not gonna warrant like a heavy retail user, maybe couple small users, but that's about it. So I think we can meet the park requirements, and we wouldn't mind having like a restriction on what the type of uses we could put there, as long as our main goal here is to get this gas station approved with the necessary parking. And then that building there would be like secondary, where we could manipulate the type of users to accommodate for the parking. Am I making sense, sir? So it's like, almost like working backwards on what you could put in there.
Thank you. Okay, anything further? Okay. Well, this is a special use and site plan review. So for special use, we would open the floor to the public, so if you would mind taking a seat just for a few moments, we can have comment from anyone from the public who wishes to make comment. If you have any... Yes, this would be the opportunity for public comment. And if you could give us your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Patricia Vardaman, live at 22353 Hampton Court, Southfield. That's right at Losser and Twickenham, for those that may not be familiar with the street. I have some concerns about building, not remodeling, but at least expanding to carry out food and liquor sales. I hear them talking about parking and so forth, but I didn't hear anything about anybody evaluating the traffic pattern there and the increase in traffic. That is a high-volume traffic area, and there's been a number of accidents there over the last few years. Actually, I had a neighbor that was killed there a few years ago. With the 2 strip malls on each side of Losser, including 3 discount stores, a CVS drugstore, a post office, and a senior center, medical center during the day. So I have some concerns about the increase in traffic and the liquor sales in particular, and what kind of additional issues that we're going to generate. There's liquor sales in CVS. There's liquor sales a half a mile down the street at Majestic Market. There's a cannabis dispensary that's 2 blocks away. So I would like for somebody to look at the potential increase in traffic and any other things that we may not be looking at besides just remodeling, making the building look nice, and increasing the parking space for customers coming in. Thank you.
And I thank you. Again, during public hearing, is there anyone else who wishes to address? Yes, please. And again, if you could give us your name and your address. And it's good seeing you again.
Name is Garland McWilliams. I live at 15641 Pennsylvania Street, Southfield, Michigan. And I have a similar concern. You know, renovating buildings are fine, makes the area look good and everything, but a liquor store, liquor sales and gas stations, they're starting to pop up all over the place. And, you know, I'm not against, you know, having a little drink every once in a while, but I don't think we need to have so many liquor stores, especially in gas stations. You know, basically they're open 24 hours a day, and, you know, it can lead to problems. You know, my wife and I moved to Southfield about, almost 30 years ago. And we're cleaning out, renovating the property that we had, and, you know, painting and everything. And, it was about 10 o'clock, and we moved from Detroit. And I said, let me go out and get a little bottle of cognac or something, you know, to relax with and everything. So I went out, and I couldn't find a store. And I came back, and I laughed, and we laughed about it and everything. And, well, that's all right, because, you know, some other places, especially in Detroit, you know, they have areas where every half mile you got a liquor store, you know, and it will bring down the neighborhood. So I would have a lot of reservations about liquor stores, liquor sales, and gas stations especially. That, to me, that is not a very good mix. So, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Are there any other comments? Anyone from the public would like to make comment on this particular item? Seeing none, public opportunity is now closed. Okay.
Just for the commission, because there was a comment on this, their proposed hours are, for the gas station convenience store, which would be where the liquor sales occur, is 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. So they'll be closed at 9.
Okay.
It's not a 24-hour operation as proposed. And should you choose to approve, we typically condition by the hours that are being proposed by the applicant.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open the floor for commissioners if the petitioners would come up. And I'm going to start with my left again. Mr. Martin.
Yeah. At this particular moment, I don't have any questions. You're eliminating the drive-around space for the car wash that you had. So I assume that in eliminating the car wash, that is your third service bay?
Yeah, well, that is correct. We're eliminating the car wash altogether. Car wash requires stacking and so on and so forth. So some of the concerns about traffic, you can see that frontage of that property there is like mostly open. I mean, it's all curb cut, basically. We're eliminating all that curb cut. We're closing one of the driveways. We're working with the road commission on making that corner from our end safe. So we have put in some other measures where there'll be like a cross easement or cross path from our property going to the north where cars can exit from there. So we are making this site vehicular safe from every angle. We're modifying it all. As you can see now, there's no landscaping along that side there. We're proposing all new landscaping. By eliminating the car wash, it's going to eliminate a lot of that traffic on that site. And by rotating that the canopy, because it's such an angle, some of those cars right there, the first few cars are so close to the sidewalk. We're going to rotate that and push it back.
Are you, right now, between the gas station property and the former bank property, there's a rail? Is that to stay, or is that going to be eliminated?
Yes, we're eliminating the railing. We are putting in like a pathway, as you can see right there. It's an opening that will lead the cars, to go to the northern driveway and exit out of there, which gives them a little more space if they're stacking along Lasser Road.
So you see the 24-foot driveway right here next to the dumpster enclosure? That's going to be an opening to that parcel to the north where the former bank was. So it gets them out to this driveway or the driveway at the north of the property, or even around through the shopping center and down to 11 Mile as an option. So it gives them a lot more exiting options from the property than they currently have. And then they are eliminating this large driveway that's currently
At the corner?
right here. A rather wide driveway that's right there by the intersection's going away. So this one appears to, and then this one over here is getting reconfigured a little bit, and then they're adding an access point to the north here. So 3 points of access, but only two to the road, one to each road, and then one to the neighboring parcel they own. So it does remove that one driveway that's really close to the intersection, which was recommended both by the city engineer and our traffic engineer, and I think by the county. That driveway was hazardous.
Currently, in the south corner, you have your air machine and cars. Is that storage area for cars that are being repaired?
No, there's two spaces. The mechanic repairs by appointment. So there's two spaces, as you can see on the east side of the property. Those two spaces are going to be for somebody waiting or something like that. We don't need that many because he's got two bays inside. When they come in for the appointment, they go in there and do the repair, and then the next car comes in. We do have a third bay, which for like an emergency. Somebody has a big problem that they're, get a tire repair, flat tire or something like that.
Okay.
That's what the third bay is for. But there'll be no cars, we see the loading zone, there will be no cars there. It's only those two spaces. We do have like a little lobby area where you can walk in, from the floor plan, you'll see that. We have like a little waiting area where customers can come in, have a seat while their car's being repaired.
Can you go back to the outside? Yeah. present, when your tanks are being filled, you have the north area blocked where you have the aisleway to the bank property or to next door. Is that the same place where the fuel tanks will be loaded?
Yes.
So that will remain the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and how often are your tanks filled?
How often do the tanks get filled?
Once or twice a week. And they usually come after midnight.
I've only noticed them there during the daylight myself. I live around the block from there, so I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I just have a question. Do you anticipate the people who use the parking by the bank will be your staff or customers?
No, there's 10 spaces along the east side. They'll be for staff.
Oh, okay.
We want the parking shown there for our customers.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
you're welcome.
So with the new renovation, you're going to keep the auto repair?
Yes.
So you see the 3 bays here on the right side of the building. So you got on the far left here, you got their carryout restaurant, you got the retail in the middle, and then the south end of the building, closer to 11 miles, 3 repair bays. It's actually like 2 buildings butted up against each other. They're actually,
Exactly.
It's over here.
it'll look like 1 building, but it's really 2 buildings
Yeah, they're like
that are,
over there.
you know, share a common
Facing
wall.
the other
Yeah.
way, facing 11, no loss.
And there is a masonry wall that separates them. And the roof on the
Yeah.
Do you have any
car
further
repair is lower.
questions?
So that's probably a firewall, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be a firewall.
Yeah. You can see the masonry wall right here.
Do you have any further questions?
Masonry firewall.
I'm sorry.
2 or 3 hour firewall.
Commissioner Benoudy.
Yes, I wanted to be clear, you're having 3 bays to do the repair work for automobiles, correct? I think that in itself is an absolute asset to the community. I don't know of another that close that has that. And as I said last time, I have had work done there. When you add to the parking that's next door that you said that you own that parking, correct?
Yes.
So when cars are being repaired, the person will they be waiting for the repair? They'll have a place to do that inside, right?
Yeah, well, so what happens is, if the repair is gonna be, let's say, a 4-hour repair, then they're gonna have to come back,
There'll be a
or they could wait,
restroom
yeah.
and that kind
Yeah.
of thing for those waiting for repairs. I don't mean for those who are coming in and out
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
buy
That-
merchandise, just for,
Yeah, there won't be any walk-ins, let's put it that way. There's,
Yeah,
if
it's
they could
good.
come and say, hey, I need my compressor on my AC repaired, okay, can you come back at 2 o'clock, for example? So that'd be by appointment. And the 3rd bay, like I said, is just for emergency, where a person had a flat tire and they gotta get back on the road. That's all that's for.
I really think it's it's a real asset for the repairs in that area because it is needed. A lot of people are not able to buy new cars and they want to keep their old ones. So I have no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a couple. When you were here, I asked about parking, and if I could go back, Mr. President, if I could go back to the,
Site plan?
yeah, that one. You have parking a little bit north of where you have parking. As it looks like 1 exit and 1 entrance parking. Will that be marked with white lines, or is there a way to make sure you can have 1 lane of traffic coming in, 1 lane of traffic going out?
Which one are you talking about? I'm sorry.
We're looking here, I'm looking here.
Right here?
At the where the entrance is for parking.
Right here?
Over there, on the other one.
Or up at top? I'm a little confused.
Go to your right to this one.
Right.
Go to the next.
To the
This
second
side.
Okay. Go here. And at the very top, you can see where he has cars, place for cars, egress and ingress. And what I don't see is lineage, not line marking or signs. I can see where, if it was clear that one lane of traffic would go out, one lane of traffic would go in, I can't tell how many lanes that is. Do you have a problem if you're turning in and there's someone trying to turn out? I don't understand how to handle the traffic conflict or the potential traffic conflict at the location you have cars coming in and out.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
understand.
garage?
No,
Not at the garage, all the way at the top of this,
The entrance.
It's a 42-foot drive where it says 42-foot,
to the driveway, if I could.
43-foot 6.
Thank you. Thank you. There it is, right this space.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Okay. And so what I can see is cars entering,
Yes,
and perhaps cars entering, but then I would also see cars exiting, and will I see cars exiting here? Am I looking at 3 lanes? Am I looking at 4 lanes? Are you going to have any signage to address the potential conflict? Will you have anything to address the time of day? There are times of day when traffic is difficult to turn on left, and then other times of day it wouldn't be so difficult.
well, that's, the driveway is like designed to have the 3 motions, right? Turning in,
Okay?
turning left, and turning right, without creating a lot of backup on the site. So it'd be easy, right? But it's, in a way, more advantageous for anybody to take even than drive to the north to make a left, or even the one further north to go left. So we wouldn't mind saying no left turn, let's say from 3 to 6, because they can go out the further northern drive, which would be a lot easier. If I'm pumping gas there, even if it's free and clear, I'd go to the northern drive because I have more space to turn left. So, yeah, but we will denote that with arrows, so that way it shows, we'll have lines that separates the different, the ingress and egress motions at that driveway. There will be markings.
Okay, and to be candid, I'm concerned with the amount of pile-up that can happen there because of, the gas station across the street and all of the other things. But, okay, thank you so much. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay.
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. We've had public comment, am I correct?
You already did your public hearing.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yep.
Then,
Yeah, and for the recommended resolution, we have the special land use and the site plan. At this point, on the basis of the size and the number of waivers, the planning department really can't support the request as presented. We just, we'd never recommend approval of something with 6 zoning waivers. We just have never done it. The idea is that if you need 6 zoning waivers, your project just doesn't fit the code. Like I said, the most we ever granted on a gas station in the last year and a half was 3, and those were all setback waivers because it's a corner lot, and that one was actually, do you remember that one on Greenfield? I think it was 10 Mile. It was kind of an L-shaped property because they added the little office building. So the L-shape created some odd side and rear setback problems and pushed the building closer to the street on Greenfield. So that one, it had an L shape, so it had the unusual property shape that made the setbacks problematic. Do I think that the shared parking between the bank building and this property could work? Yes, I do agree that there's like 40, 50 spaces there, and unless you put a full-service restaurant in that building that fills the whole building, you can probably meet the parking requirement with the shared property, and it could be linked that way. The only question comes in is a lot of the setback waivers, the size and number of setback waivers and greenbelt waivers being driven by how much they're trying to put on the site. Like I said, we've seen other gas stations go bigger, but those people got more land to do that on. So at this point, and I did run this past Planner Crode before we decided on our recommendation, just to make sure he agreed with me. And he looked over the materials and he agreed that yeah. And if you recall the property on Telegraph, the one at Telegraph in 10 or 9 Mile? 9 Mile, they needed a couple small variances, and they were encouraged to tweak the scale of the project to reduce those, and they ended up eliminating their waivers. So We do have a history of kind of pushing people to make the project fit the property, if not perfectly, better. And I would argue, like in this case, that rear setback's probably not one they can reasonably meet and use the property effectively, because that just pushes the building the other direction and creates more of a front setback problem. You're not going to get both. So, and the green belts, they are improving them. They probably can't get to the full green belt requirement without making the site unbuildable, once again, because it's a smaller property. But some of that's being driven by the fact that they're doing carry-out, gas station, convenience store, and auto repair on one relatively small parcel. And that may just be too much on a property this size. So we are recommending unfavorable recommendation of the special land use and denial of the site plan for the reasons noted in the resolution, that with that many waivers, we just don't think it meets the standards of approval. We think it's actually relatively a good plan, it's just a little much. So that's, but you need to act on, and like I said, this is just our recommendation. The board is free, if it can get a majority vote, to go whichever way it chooses to go. For special land use, it's a recommendation to council. For the site plan, it's a final action. So even if you were to recommend approval of the special land use, if you denied the site plan, it's kind of, the project can't happen as designed. So they're sort of linked either way. We're recommending one way and not recommending the other way on the other one doesn't make a lot of sense in this case. Either one is, it's an and, they need both, not an or.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've heard the summary of and recommendation. Do we have a motion?
To the chair,
Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to support the planning department's unfavorable recommendation based on the fact that there is not adequate space for the design the way it is currently.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion?
Yes, support.
Second.
Support.
I'm sorry.
Support.
Jumping the gun all night. I'm looking for support.
Okay, support.
Okay. It has been moved and supported.
I oppose.
No, I'm supporting and he's going to have to vote in just a second.
Oh,
Haven't voted yet.
okay.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. So now I can ask, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Oppose.
Opposed.
Okay. We have a 3-2,
And we probably should do that as a roll call vote so we capture who voted which
and if we
way.
would do that.
Commissioner Bernuti?
Oppose.
Opposed? Commissioner Goodwin-Dye?
Aye.
Commissioner Gruber?
Opposed.
Commissioner Willis?
Support the recommendation.
Commissioner Martin?
I support the unfavorable recommendation.
We have a 3-2 vote in support of unfavorable recommendation.
That makes the motion fail.
No, the motion passes. It's a majority of the
Yeah.
quorum.
Unfavorable, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Majority of the quorum present. You need 4 for a quorum, and then you need a majority vote thereafter.
Gotcha. Thank you.
If that, the unfavorable recommendation passes.
And that motion passes. Do we need to go further with this special use, or with that?
That was for the special use.
Okay. I'm sorry, the site plan, do we need to go forward with the site
The
plan?
site plan review issue is sort of moot if this, well, the planning commission, city council could potentially not follow your recommendation, so you do need to vote on the site plan review as well.
Would you want to make any, would you want to make a recommendation on site plan?
Yes, we are recommending denial of the site plan for much the same reasons. It's just the number, the type number and size of zoning waivers indicates that the project is not properly scaled to the property and doesn't meet the standards for site plan approval.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion and a recommendation?
I move that we accept the resolved amendment, the resolved recommendation denied for PSP 240021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I think you want to do a
We can do another roll call.
roll call.
we need another roll call?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bernuti?
Opposed?
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye?
Aye.
Commissioner Gruber?
Opposed?
Commissioner Willis?
Support.
Commissioner Martin?
Support.
We have, again, 3 votes in support of the denial and
That
2
would be a motion,
opposed.
okay.
The denial passes.
So that is a non-favorable resolution.
Passes.
Petitioner's request fails. Am I correct?
All right.
Any questions?
Nope, that's final.
To the chair, my understanding is that the petitioner can make modifications to his site plan and make modifications to his special use request.
Yeah, at this point, you've actually made a final action on the site plan. You'd have to actually modify the plan and reapply with a revised site plan. Your action is actually final. You didn't table it, you denied it, so that forces them to do revisions if they want to come back.
Then that would be the suggestion of this commission.
Yeah, if
Modifying
the
to
purpose
return.
of the recommendation for denial was based on the number, type, and scale of the waivers, if those were to change, then the reasoning behind the action could change. So, yeah, it could be entertained by this board if they change something that, on the basis of those resolutions, were different. So, yeah, it could return with an altered plan, with a revised plan.
Okay.
And you've heard the comments, and with that, we appreciate you coming before us. Jeremy Griffin is usually here, he's the chair of the commission, and every now and then he'll just sum it up in a simple sentence. It's just too big. It might be something that can be resolved just by scaling it down, but we would look forward to you bringing this back before us, and we'll then be able to review it with the entire commission too.
Yeah, I mean, if it's okay, I'm gonna be in contact with Tom to see if we can have a sit down and just look at these possibilities and resubmit something that's gonna be more reasonable.
Yeah, and Planner Crote's supposed to be back in the office on Monday, so we could include him in the meeting.
Okay.
Because like I said, I ran this past him before I came up with
Yeah.
a recommendation, because I wanted to make sure he was comfortable with it. And yeah, he said the plan was generally good, it was just a little too much. So I think if we can, as the commission has said, I think if we can manage to shrink those waivers, maybe eliminate 1 or 2 of them, I think you'd probably have a pretty good shot at getting it through.
I was looking at them, I'm sure we could, but if you don't mind, I can email you, maybe set up something
Yeah,
for
we'll
next
set
week.
up a meeting. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all for your comments, they're like very helpful in us shaping the property to what it should be.
To the chair, I'd like to make one other comment. One of the comments that was pointed out was the liquor store in the gas station. One of the things that, since the Michigan state has changed the liquor licensing requirements, that if you go through any city right now, you will see almost all the gas stations are coming up with liquor sales. It's not something unique to Southfield, it's something all over. I just happened to be on 15 Mile on Maple last night, and every gas station from I-75 to Woodward, except for 2, sells liquor. I just wanted to point that out. It's something that the gas stations are doing as a way to increase their funding, because the price of gas is driving down customers. So that, and then too, you are one of 2 gas stations in Southfield that service vehicles. We need you there. So
Thank you.
please, work with the planning department to get something that will fit 11 Mile and Lasser, so that you can stay there and continue to do repairs. Thank you.
And
thank
just to Mr. Martin's point, I want to say, when council revised the ordinance to allow alcohol sales at gas stations, Southfield was the last community in Oakland County that prohibited them. Like, there are no other communities in Oakland County that don't allow alcohol sales at gas stations. I live in Dearborn and grew up in Dearborn. We've always had alcohol sales at gas stations, and Dearborn's fine. It's, what goes on in Detroit is not just a subject of there being gas stations with alcohol sales. There's a lot of problems that Detroit has faced over the decades. You really can't put it down to one item, I don't think, not easily. So there's plenty of communities that have allowed alcohol sales in gas stations for years, and it's not been a blighting influence. So it's not just that. And like I said, we're the last one in Oakland County that legalized it. So, just FYI.
Again, thank you so much.
Thank you all
Thank you.
so
Good
much.
night.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Have a good day.
Commissioner Martin, for your remarks.
I think we are ready for item H. After a very thoughtful presentation, we can let the next one go to the dogs.
This is a special land use and site plan approval for an unusual use. It is
That's very good.
Thank you.
a bar and dog park combination in the old Ponderosa building on 11 Mile, near 11 Mile in Greenfield. This one, you see the zoning is neighborhood shopping, which does allow bars, and dog parks are just kind of a park-type use, so they're really more of an accessory in this case, not the principal, as far as the zoning ordinance is concerned. So it's consistent with the future land use plan. This is the red outline is the area where the actual bar and dog park will be. Just wanted to make that clear on the site. As you can see, the site has plenty of parking because that's a restaurant wholesaler, like they have a lower parking requirement. So they're, even with the dog bar side added to this, it still exceeds the parking requirement quite a bit. This is the building as it sits now. Site plans, you can see, they're going to create that in that L with the building is where the outdoor area is going to go. They are going to provide a connection to the sidewalk into the site as one of the improvements. There's going to be a bike rack and plenty of parking. Just a little close-up of the outdoor area. They've got some overhead lighting, some chairs and tables. This is what the elevations of the property are going to look like. Once again, it's sort of a modern look, which actually does fit in Southfield pretty well. This is looking at the outside, the top one you see the outside of the fence, the bottom one you're seeing kind of inside against the wall of the wholesaler. This is looking at the building itself from a couple other angles, the end with the fence and then inside. And then the floor plans, you can see the outdoor area. There's an overhead door, it connects to the indoor area. So you got indoor and outdoor, small dog areas. Just some renderings that help demonstrate the project. And then the petitioner's present. I'm going to let them go at least quickly through their presentation again, since this meeting's televised and there may be interested folks who did get to hear the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if we can start with your name and your address.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask you to speak directly into the, just so that we can all hear you.
Yes, sir. You got it. My name is David. My address is 15640 West 11 Mile Road, Southfield, Michigan, 48214. 48076. I apologize.
I'm Cody Williams, and the address is 15640 West 11 Mile Road in Southfield.
So we went through this last time, so I'll be a little bit more brief, but I'm sure there'll be some questions at the end. Again, we are Barkside. We are Metro Detroit's actually first dog park and bar. We opened up our first location in November of 2023 in the city of Detroit, and we're looking to expand to the city of Southfield. And just got kind of an overview. This has been a phenomenal community space for lots of our members. They say they're literally the third space, and so we're excited to expand and bring this concept to the city of Southfield and surrounding communities. Year-round fun, so we have both an indoor-outdoor area. So during the summer, the outdoors is of course going to be more popular. So you imagine having a drink outside with your dog, and then during the wintertime, you have the indoor area where it is climate controlled. And so whether it's a brutally cold winter day like today, you can sit inside with your dog and then just enjoy a beverage with friends or family. This is our most important thing. We have referees. The referees are professionally trained to monitor dog behavior, whether it's looking at tails, ears, mouths. We are proactive in making sure every dog has a safe and enjoyable time at Barkside. Human grade treats. So in addition to obviously the dog piece of it, there is things for humans, which is a full bar. So specifically craft beer, wine, cocktail, as well as a full espresso bar. As well as TVs, Wi-Fi throughout if you just want to work there while your dog plays, or you want to work there and just enjoy the company of other people's dogs. And then we have a lot of regular events such as trivia, singles, mingles nights, date nights, etc. This is kind of expounding on the previous point, but we also do dog birthdays, gotcha day parties, dog yoga, adoption events, singles nights, Barktoberfest, and that's literally a very small sliver of the events that we throw on an annual basis. So in going to our safety protocols, again, safety is our #1 priority. So again, all of our play areas are actively monitored by our staff. I would say that it is a more safer dog park than your traditional one, traditional being a public dog park. We require vaccinations, and so folks have the ability to register on our website, upload those, and our staff will review those records, make sure each and every single dog is up to date on their vaccinations. And then we do require all dogs over 12 months to be spayed or neutered. Our staff is actively cleaning up in the park, so if a dog has an accident, does a #2, our staff will clean it up, as well as if they do a #1 on the chair or somewhere on the ground, our staff will spray dog-friendly disinfectant. A couple other things, we don't allow external glass or external food and beverage just for the safety of dogs. So imagine glass being if it breaks on the ground and now there's glass everywhere, so we don't allow that. As well as all of our entrances are double gated, as well as our exits. So this is our currently proposed time, Monday through Friday, 2 to 10, Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. I want to emphasize that we are not a place that's open until 2 a.m. We don't serve alcohol till 2 a.m., and so this is not a place where, frankly and bluntly, you're taking shots and spending all night there. So just a couple things about our dog entry requirements. All dogs must be at least 6 months old. If you are over 1 year old, must be spayed or neutered. The vaccinations on the third line are the required vaccinations. We require dogs to be registered through our portal. No more than 2 dogs per person at any time is allowed. And then any person under 21 must be accompanied by an adult. And lastly, all visitors must sign a guest agreement waiver prior to entry. And then last but not least, house rules. Dogs must wear a harness or collar on site, no excessive barking, bullying, or aggression. Our staff will actively monitor that and make sure and rectify that. Again, no aggressive or unwanted behavior, no external dog toys and treats. The owners are fully responsible and liable for their dog's safety and behavior, and smoking, outside drinks, and glass containers are prohibited. And then we do operate on a month, excuse me, we do operate on a subscription basis. So we have either an annual option, a monthly option, or a day pass. So for example, for $375 a year, you and your dog can come every single day, unlimited visits for that year.
Could I ask you to speak up? Your voice is trailing some.
My apologies.
One thing to note to this is you don't need a dog to come to Barkside, and the membership is based on dogs. So anyone in the community who wants to hang out, attend an event, access the bar, have a coffee, or just use the space can do so for free.
And we have a great coffee program. And this is just some pictures from our existing site in Detroit, exterior building. This is our indoor play area. This is our check-in area. This is where dogs, we check in the dogs, verify vaccinations. This is our bar and coffee. And this is an exterior shot of our building, plus our heated patio, as well as our park. And then these are the renderings that were shown earlier, so I'll skip through these quickly. And there's Cody and I. One more click. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, you are here under a special use request and a site plan review. As a part of the special use request, we would have a public opportunity to make comments. So we're going to ask if anyone from the public wishes to make comment on the dog park. We'd have that opportunity at this moment. If you could stand aside for a moment. And if you would approach. Give us your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Name is Garland McWilliams, 15641 Pennsylvania Street, Southfield, Michigan. Dog bar, it's a novel idea. I have 2 dogs myself, and I love them. They take care of me and everything. But am I understanding that they're going to be serving beer and wine?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. I don't know. I just I'm a little bit on the fence of that, you know. I'm not against beer or wine and everything, but in this venue, I can't say no, and I can't say yes. I'm a little bit on the fence. I think it needs a little bit more thought put into it and everything. Dog parks are nice, you know, for people enjoying their pets and everything. But, you know, it's a novel idea to have the little, you know, beer and wine. I'd prefer a nice coffee bar there, you know, espresso and everything. And I think that would be better than beer and wine.
They have the coffee bar as well.
Yeah, the coffee bar is in there too, yeah.
Yep.
So that's it, you know, that's my feeling on it, you know.
Okay, well, they're here and they have a facility in Detroit they've invited us to take a look at. I'm sure they would be glad to share that address with you if you like.
Yeah, yeah, so, you know, that's my thought.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, is there anyone else in the public that wishes to make a comment? They would give us their name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, that closes the opportunity for public comment. Now, if we could get you back and gives us an opportunity to have the commissioners ask questions, and I'm going to start on my right this time and ask Commissioner Bernuti if she has any questions.
Thank you. I'm just sorry that Commissioner Gunn is not here tonight because she is so excited about this project, as some of us are as well. You showed a picture where the inside of the building in Detroit, the flooring, will the flooring be similar to that on the inside of this or not?
It'll be different. The flooring in Detroit is terrazzo. It's the original flooring when the bank was built in the late 1800s. But for a new location, it'll be a sealed concrete.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
It'll be a sealed concrete.
Sealed concrete.
Yeah.
So like a polished concrete.
Okay. And what was my other question?
I wish we could do the terrazzo.
When you mentioned about the different, I saw one dog on there that looked like a lion. He's quite big. Will you have a separation? I think you mentioned that last time, that there is a separation between the sizes of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
dogs. Yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited because it's not far from my house, and I've been looking for a dog park for 30 years. Okay? And my daughter lives around the corner, and we can just meet up there and have coffee and bring
Or a
our
cocktail.
dogs.
Thank you.
Excited to meet your dog.
Huh?
Excited to meet your dog.
Yes, Muggsy is a handful. Yes.
Commissioner Gruber.
I have no questions, but it's a great idea.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner
Thank
Martin.
you.
I have questions I have questions about the policies and procedures don't deal with it. So that, yeah, my questions come later. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one. Always concerned with safety, and I think you said that you are going to have individuals sign waivers. So once you become a member, you'll sign this form that's a waiver. That person will then, in the event of a dog bite, that person would then be responsible for the conduct of his dog. Am I correct? Okay.
Excuse me, could you speak yes or no?
Oh, sorry, yes.
This is the
I
recorded
apologize.
session, yeah.
And you'll be monitoring those situations? You have cameras?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. How many dogs can you accommodate at one time?
That's always the million-dollar question. It really it varies based on the dogs and the energy level of the dogs outside at any given point in time. I used the example last time of we could have 50 Malteses that are 5 pounds outside, but not 50 St. Bernards or Great Danes. So there's not a fixed number, but our staff is actively monitoring the number of dogs that are outside as well as the energy level. And if at any point in time our staff feels like there's too many, then we will cut off additional entries, which we have done in the past.
Does your staff go through any form of special training?
So our staff, for our Detroit location, we worked specifically with the dog behavioralist specialists, folks at Michigan Humane, the folks that are literally educated in dog behavior, and we spent an all-day training course with shelter dogs on how to read dog body language, how to intervene if necessary. So we are all trained in proactivity, making sure preventing anything before anything ever happens. And in our year and a half of being open, we've had, honestly, very minimal incidents. And like I mentioned before, I would say that we are a safer dog park than your traditional dog park.
Are there any other parks like yours that you know of?
Detroit?
I'm not going to find a competitor, but just, are they in the Michigan area?
No, so there's one in Grand
Detroit.
Rapids, and this concept is actually prevalent all over the South. So this is new to this area, but not new to California and the South.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Well, if you're taking the training and that type. You said that your employees basically went through training with the Detroit Humane Society. How long a training period did they go through? Right now, the Detroit Humane Society has a child training program that they have online and video that they do that's on a individual time basis, but it's for small kids. What type of training do your individuals go through, and how long a time frame?
So it's Michigan Humane, just to specify.
Could you move the mic up to your mouth? So, yeah,
Yep.
we got the speakers turned up so it's louder, but.
Sorry,
Okay.
I apologize. Michigan Humane, when we did about a 6-hour in-person course going through PowerPoints as well as live demonstrations with shelter dogs. But honestly, Cody and we have, I would say, thousands of hours of actively monitoring dogs, engaging with dogs, interacting with dogs, intervening with dogs if necessary. And so we're starting to develop also our own internal training as well. And honestly, the on-the-job piece of it has, I think, been really critical and helpful for us.
Part of the training that will be beneficial for the Southfield location is that we will be able to hire folks prior to this location actually opening, and they can come to Detroit and actually experience the job and train on the job and see what it looks like. We don't have to speculate or do any type of demonstration. So we're still figuring out what that length looks like. Michigan Humane has offered their resources to train our new staff in Southfield like they did in Detroit. So training and safety is very, very important to us, and yes.
Is there any certification for the training that's done? There's national animal behavior certification processes. Has anyone in your organization gone through any of those certification or training?
No, not at this time.
The city, Oakland County has policies that they put out for dog parks, which in essence is what you're doing, is a dog park. Are you familiar with their processes and procedures?
Not specifically. Is there a certain policy or procedure that you're referring to?
There's Oakland County, there's a Michigan, in the state of Michigan, there's a dog park policies and procedures, and in Oakland County, they have dog park procedures for Oakland County. They're for outdoor parks, but in essence, because you're indoor and outdoor, I assume that pretty much most of those things would be the same. They do have Oakland County Parks brochure that's available that has their guidelines and that type of thing. And I'm just wondering, are you meeting any of those requirements, or are you aware of those requirements?
We can go through the Oakland County policy and procedures, and I can't exactly opine on whether or not we meet those, but I can assure you that when we built our space in Detroit, we used the professionals at Machine Humane to develop our policies and procedures, and we are replicating the same exact policies and procedures in the city of Southfield.
You mentioned that the individuals, the employees would observe the dogs and keep an eye. Are you keep aware of dogs that don't want to share the water? How often you have water available for the dogs, I guess, in bowls around the facility? How often is the water changed? Because, you know, some dogs are sloppy and they'll have food and other stuff on them and get into the water. Yep. And, you know, so how often is the water?
The water's changed, I would say, at least twice an hour.
Yes, very regularly the water has changed, and then in addition to that, we have more bowls than we need, so we'll sub out bowls throughout the day so that there's clean bowls out. So it's not the same bowl being used all day.
And I assume you watch out for those animals that don't want to share their water with other animals. Also, you mentioned, you know, that you've only had one or maybe two situations where there was a dog that bites. You mentioned that you have a registration for people to show that their dogs are certified, vaccinated in that type. So from there, you got the information on it. And if the dog bites, you've got that information available. Is that information available to other users, so that if their dog is bitten, or, you know, an individual is bitten, that information is available so that they can have that information for health purposes or that?
Yes, we do keep records of everything. So in those instances, if there is a dog bite, we encourage the owners to exchange information and facilitate, you know, how they want to go about that themselves.
Okay. I noticed that, okay, you have an on-leash policy. For dogs, they're required to have their dog tags on them. So you have that requirement. Correct. Too, that all dogs that have their dog tag, all dogs have their dog tags on them at all times, I assume.
Yep, whether dog tags or their actual records with them.
I'm sorry? Or
their actual records with them, their paper records from their vet or the city.
Yes, but
they're required to have their collar and harness on.
Yeah, they're required to have it.
Oh,
yes.
The license, got it, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were specifically referring to a vaccination, but I got it.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I misheard you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Are you aware of or familiar with the city of Southfield dog ordinances?
I actually am a resident of Southfield myself, so I am not super familiar, but familiar enough as I own a dog here.
Okay, well, just as a suggestion, I suggest you obtain and review the city of Southfield ordinances and the Oakland County, because the Oakland County has requirements and they're county-wide, which Southfield's in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Nothing else right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, commissioners, any other questions?
No.
At this point, I have no further questions. Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a recommendation for the special land use. We are recommending favorable recommendation of the special land use, noting the standards for special land uses in the NS district. It does seem to be consistent with the development around it and the spirit and nature of the ordinance and site development standards. No waivers are required. It would be subject to the site plan, of course, being approved by this body. Condition on petitioner implementing into recommendations of Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau and probably the animal control officer if there were issues. They're pretty reasonable for the most part. And then continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance, laws, codes, and statutes, permits, and final inspections by the city. And then the hours of operation, which were discussed, Monday through Friday, 2 to 10, Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 10. And that would be our recommended conditions on that. This is a recommendation to City Council, then it would go to City Council next month for their consideration.
Thank you. Heard the recommendation, Planning Commission. Do we have a motion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
For PSLU 24-0023, I'd like an approval on this motion.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Nays.
Mr. Rowland, because we have just the number we have, could we take a roll call?
No, there's no need.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we can know Mr. Martin was an A and everyone else was ayes.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
Does pass. Motion does pass.
Thank you. The next item then would be the site plan review of the same number, the 15640 West 11 Mile. So, Mr. Pazon,
Yep. We are recommending approval of the site plan review. As we note, site plan reviews are now City Council, or Planning Commission makes the final call on this, so it's not a recommendation you're making a motion to, it would be a motion to approve or deny. In this case, we are recommending a motion to approve. Once again, based on the site plan review standards and the new site plan review section we created, it does meet these, I do cite the key ones, you know, that the site is well laid out for vehicle and pedestrian circulation, it has adequate screening, it's to comply with all the zoning requirements, its coordination with adjacent sites is acceptable, and appearance. We do look at the following conditions, obviously subject to the approval of the special land use by the City Council, subject to the site and building being developed consistent with the submitted plans that were before this body this evening, and petitioner to implement recommendations of Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security, and continuous compliance with all applicable ordinances, codes, laws, statutes, all work to be performed under plans, permits, and inspections by the city.
for the recommendation. Any questions, Commissioners? Follow-up?
No,
Okay, we're
do we
ready
need
for
a
the-
motion for that?
I'm ready for the motion.
All right, I'd like to make it for PSP 24-0022 for an approval.
Heard the motion, any support?
Support.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have a unanimous motion. That matter is settled. I need to say I thank you. I'm looking forward to the dog park. I might even have to get a dog to go visit.
Please do.
We'll let-
They told us last time.
That's true.
We'll let Commissioner Gunn to let you know to expect her dogs.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
To the chair, I'd like, please make sure you become familiar with the City of Southfield animal requirements and Oakland County. Those are necessary, and you need to be aware of them, especially because you're in Southfield, and Southfield is modeled off of Oakland County.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
And I am a dog lover.
Next item on the agenda, minutes.
Yep, we have minutes for January 15th from the study meeting, and then the transcript minutes from January 29th, 2025 that I sent you Tuesday.
To the chair.
Commissioner
Motion,
Burton.
motion to approve the, I lost the dates here, the January 15th study meeting minutes and the January 29th regular meeting minutes
Have a
as
support.
provided.
I second that.
It's been moved and supported by Commissioner Benuding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Our minutes have been passed. The next item on the agenda is for public comment We have a couple of individuals here. If you would like to make further public comment on any subject, you have an opportunity to again approach us. 3 minutes if you would give your name and your address, and you can opine on any subject. Okay. Seeing no movement, opportunity for public comment closes. Mr. Paisley, council item update?
Yep, I have a couple items. The Make Food Not Waste plan, or food waste elimination plan, and the pilot project that is grant funded with the nonprofit were both approved by council last week, so that's moving in the right direction. They're going to start with that pilot project here in the next few months. They've got a little bit of mobilization to do on it, but they needed the approval for the city to be involved in that, so we'll see how that one goes. We are the actual, as far as we can tell, we're the first city in the United States to actually adopt a food elimination plan. So it's, now other communities are interested. We're like our sustainability planners getting calls from neighboring communities and communities in like Wayne County, Dearborn, and other places that are interested in this as well. And I know the state of Michigan is very interested. They partially funded the study because they're looking to lower their solid waste items. So it's something we'll be working at, kind of implementing over the next several years as budget's available and we can find grant funding. But at least we now have a plan, and having the adopted plan allows us to go after that grant funding because they like to know you've got some kind of larger thing you're going after and that you're going to spend that money in a consistent, intelligent, well thought out way. So having the plan in place, really just having the draft plan allowed us to be able to get this first grant for the pilot project. So having an adopted plan will open up additional grant funding opportunities. So that is something we're going to be looking to move forward as we go on. And I really would like to see us that when we do our solid waste contract, apparently it's possible that we can add to our solid waste contract doing yard waste in bins instead of in the paper bags. And then a lot of the food waste can go in with the yard waste and it can be mulched and compounded at a mulching facility. So that would be the easy way for people to do it because it would literally be right at the curb. You take it out every week. You take out your regular can, you take out your recycling, you take out your compost can. And they pick it up at the curb with one of those hydraulic arms, and then it gets bulk stored at a place where they can make it into big piles where it gets warm enough and they can circulate it with larger equipment so it breaks down faster and you don't have that issue. And I guess these big mulch facilities, their stuff gets hot enough that like they can actually like mulch and compost bones and that sort of thing because the piles get hot enough that they can break down all that stuff. So like you get chicken bones or whatever, so those having to be, you can't do that in your home compost pile, it never gets hot enough. But in these big piles where they do them, they maintain those just below the combustion point so they don't spontaneously light on fire, and they break down pretty fast. So it's interesting, and that's when we'd be looking for grant funding to pay for the cans. And then as an incremental part of the service, since they're already picking up yard waste, it really wouldn't add a lot of cost to the contract. We just have to get that money for the cans, but that might be something we could get a grant for, so that's something we're looking at. The animals ordinance amendment, which is replacing the part of the zoning ordinance repealing, that got approved. It'll be enacted at next Monday's meeting and then become effective. And at next Monday's meeting, we're doing the public hearing for getting rid of the part in the zoning ordinance and replacing that with just a reference to the animals ordinance. So by this time next month, that beekeeping and chicken backyard fowl keeping ordinance amendments will be done finally. Started in October of 23, we're done in spring of 25. It took a lot of talking to get to the end of the rainbow on that one, but it'll be done.
Could I ask a question about
Sure.
that? Was there any concern brought up about bird flu along with that, allowing chickens?
Not a huge one in that the animal officers kind of in Department of Agriculture monitors, but also wild bird get bird flu anyway. So like the chickens aren't making your risk of bird flu higher. Wild birds get bird flu. Like it's not like it's just chickens. So actually the animal control officers actually monitor when they find wild birds dead in weird conditions also for the bird flu. If there was a bird flu outbreak at somebody's little small group of chickens in their yard, then yeah, those chickens would probably have to go. But this is something the animal control officers think that they because everyone who does this has to have a license through the clerk, so we'll know where all the approved places are. And if you don't have a license through the clerk's office, you're not a legal operation automatically.
To
So-
have backyard chickens.
Yep, to have backyard
Okay.
chickens, you're gonna have to have a permit
Yeah.
/ license through the clerk's office. And that's mainly so we can distribute some educational materials and what the rules are, but also know where the legal ones are at. So if we get a complaint, we can go, yep, that one's licensed, nope, that one doesn't have a permit.
Okay.
So it makes the enforcement a little easier. And then if there was some reason why we really did have to do something about this, like we would know where all the legitimate ones are at. So that was one of the council's requests when it got to them, is they really wanted to add that licensing requirement, and the animal control officers said, yeah, that would help when they got calls to know which ones were legal. They could just look it up, it'd be on a list in the system, so we'd know. Now, that doesn't mean one that has a license can't be violating the ordinance and doing it wrong, but at least you know they're not automatically illegal if they have the license. And then you can go out and see if they're following the rules. So hopefully, since we're going to give them information on the rules, we made the rules pretty straightforward, people will be able to follow the rules. So the last one is, and I think I mentioned this before, the consent judgment. We had a lot of old land use cases that were solved by consent judgments in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This one is, there's that small office complex behind the Tiger Market and Glassman Automotive on Telegraph. It's kind of tucked behind there. I think it's called Riverside Offices or River something.
Yeah,
That one was under this consent judgment, and it's odd because it was zoned residential multifamily unlimited, which means you could have done high-rise condo towers on it.
Like what's
But
the
because of the
building?
consent judgment, it ended up being these short office buildings, and you really couldn't do anything with it, like other than what was there. And what that office complex, because it doesn't have visibility or frontage, just kind of suffered. Glassman wants to buy it. Potentially, they're going to leave the offices there for now because there's some long-term leases in there. But they also, eventually, what they may do is develop more of their frontage and move more of their car storage to this back area. But before they closed on that, they wanted to get this consent judgment off of here. And next month, you'll be seeing a rezoning to rezone it to regional shopping, which is what all the frontage on Telegraph is all zoned. So that'll allow them in the future to, like, as they redevelop and position the auto dealership, because a couple of their dealership buildings, like the Subaru building, really don't meet the modern format. They kind of need to rebuild at some point to stay current with the dealership requirements. And they don't want to waste that valuable frontage on Telegraph with a lot of car storage. They'd rather put that where it can be secured, kind of out of sight behind. So that's their long-term plan. In the short term, next 5 years or so, the buildings stay because there are leases in those buildings that are people occupying those offices. And they don't want to buy out their leases. They just want to honor the leases, and then they'll see what happens after that. And they might end up using part of those offices, say, for their finance arm or their backup office, payroll. Like, they might use some of those buildings. They're not 100% sure what that long-term play looks like, but they're landlocked. And there was this opportunity to pick up additional land and make it a more modern dealership. So they really wanted, this was their chance to pick up some additional land.
Yeah, they've also really picked up additional Moran. Because
Yeah.
they took the Vici that was at
Yeah.
Art Moran.
And they had a remote storage lot on 8 Mile that they were
Yes.
approved to use a number of years ago, but like, it's hard to do security for that site because it's so far from their main dealership site. They literally had to have security going down there all the time. You know, like their collision shop is down Telegraph to the south,
Yeah.
and then they've got this storage lot on 8 Mile, and it's not efficient management for them. So this was where they're looking to reposition that. So that was just another thing that the council did approve the vacation of the consent judgment. Therefore, the rezoning coming to you next month can go forward, because as long as the consent judgment was in place, you couldn't rezone the property. It was trapped by the court order. Without a judge's order, you couldn't do anything with it other than what was in the consent judgment. So this brings it, and I explained to council, this brings it back under the normal zoning rules of the city. So like if they do anything, they gotta go site plan approval, special land uses, rezonings, where literally anything you did to the property up to that point had to go through the court. And you had to have the city agree, the property owner agree, and the people who own the condos on the other side of the river had to agree. Which is weird, because they're a long way off, and there's a grade change, and there's a lot of woods, but they were fine now with actually letting it go too, because they saw what happened with the Tiger Market and the Korean restaurant, and it wasn't a big deal. Those were already removed from the consent judgment. Now the only thing left in the consent judgment will be the Victory Hotel. That'll be the last piece that's still under this consent judgment. So that's where we're at with that one. So those are the three things going on now. On Monday, of next week, we're going to be presenting the annual report to the city council, and we're going to be looking to get approval to enter into that Safe Streets and Spaces grant for doing all those bus stops. We got that $200,000 grant for. Going to be executing the contract for that. And then the public hearing for the zoning ordinance, part of the bees and the chicken ordinance, where we take it out of zoning and put it all in the animals chapter. So that's what's happened and what's going on.
And the next item is miscellaneous.
Yep. So on March 5th, our next meeting, we're going to be doing an introduction and discussion of the full draft CIP plan. And it'll be located in the study room because this room is being taken up by the Board of Review for the assessor. But since it's a study meeting, that'll be fine. And then the regular meeting on the 19th, we're going to do with the actual public hearings for all the development items. The normal development items will come forward for introduction on the 5th. 19th, we'll do the public hearings and action on the development items. We got, I think, 4 or 5. And then at the end of the month, we'll do just the meeting and public hearing for the capital improvement program. So we'll come in with the final version of the plan. We'll do the televised meeting in here for that and do the public hearing, and then we'll vote on a recommendation of that to council, because council does the final adoption on the CIP. So, and then after we'll be done with the end report, we'll be done with the CIP by the end of March, and then in April, we'll be moving into more of our normal schedule for the rest of the year. So that's where we're at with all of that.
I have one question.
Sure.
We are supposed to have annual election. I thought in January.
No,
We're not
it's every other year.
every other year?
Yeah,
Yeah, because all of you were newly elected,
Yeah,
and you have a
you
2-year
were
term.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because Mr. Martin brought it up, and I looked at the bylaws and went, oh, you guys were all elected last year, so you got a
Yeah.
2-year term.
I was off sick.
Yeah, he was up, yeah, he was
And
up.
it was kind of my suggestion that we did it every year. When I came back, I was under the impression that they had turned it back to annually.
Yeah.
But I'm good with every other year, and believe me, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly happy.
It's every other year, and I believe you can't serve consecutive term, or 2 consecutive terms, I
Right.
think.
Okay.
Then, but you can't serve 3 consecutive terms. So so it does, the positions have to rotate by the way the bylaws are written, which is a best practice.
Actually, we should start keeping that put it in the schedule, so like January 2026 meeting, we know we have elections.
Yep,
then.
absolutely. And it's at the first regular
Yeah,
meeting, because it's a meeting where you're voting.
yeah.
So it's pretty clear in the bylaws. Like that first year, I fumbled it a little because I was new here, but I check the bylaws now when it comes up.
Are
All
there
right.
any further questions, any comments, anything for good in order? If not,
Nope.
let's adjourn.